Welcome to Thrive in Design, a podcast about making money in beautiful interiors as it relates to product-based businesses in the interior design industry. Each week, we'll discuss innovative strategies on how to approach product development and design sales in a shifting market. I'm your host, Nicole Lachey Ben. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Thrive in Design podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Lachey Ben, CEO and founder of Thrive in Design, where we help interior product companies boost brand awareness and revenue through a human-centered approach to design and strategy. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce two incredible guests, Ken Lewis and Johnny Davis of Johnny Davis Digital Solutions. With over 26 years of experience specializing in photography, color management, and retouching, Johnny and his team have mastered the art of bringing creative visions to life. Johnny Davis Digital Solutions is known for their concept to completion business model, offering exceptional photography, videography, cinematography, and graphic imaging services. Since 2010, they've proudly served the North Carolina furniture industry, partnering with some of the most renowned furniture brands in the world. In today's episode, we'll dive into how Johnny and Ken combine artistry and technology to deliver aesthetically superior results, their journey in serving the furniture industry, and how businesses can leverage creative digital solutions to elevate their brand presence. So let's get started. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. That sounded amazing.
I'm so excited to have you guys here today. So Johnny and Ken, tell me a little bit about the story behind Johnny Davis Digital Solutions. What inspired the creation of your company?
So I've been in pre-press since I was 16 years old, so like 100 years. And it kind of evolved, and I always enjoyed doing pre-press work and then working with different photographers and retouchers and that kind of thing. And then as time progressed, I wanted to venture out on my own and kind of try to make my own way on it. And so made the leap of faith and had it in my head not to look back. And so here we are, and it's evolved over time, and we've got great people involved like Ken and the rest of our staff, and they've taken it to a whole nother level. So it's been about the people that's been involved and helped us through the journey on the way, really.
Yeah, awesome. And has it always been a focus on the furniture industry? Like, how did you specifically hone in on that niche?
Well, yeah, when I was working for other companies, my background was definitely in furniture. So where we're based out of High Point, North Carolina is huge in furniture. And then, we do go up west and east and different things like that. There's a lot of furniture manufacturing in this area. So it was a pretty natural transition because we were already doing that for other companies and to incorporate in what we were doing. But as we've grown, again, we were doing, besides photography, we do video, we do page layout, we do catalog work, a lot of creative projects. And Ken's got us in front of a lot of different people outside of furniture manufacturers. But, like designers that work with furniture brands or, those kinds of things. So we're still working in furniture, but outside of that aspect with, designers that do house installs. We just did a shoot out in Oregon for a designer, and it went really well. And it was something totally different than what we've done in the past. It was a great project.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so your expertise is in a lot of different creative disciplines, including photography, videography, graphic imaging, with yourself and your amazing team. So tell me a little bit about like your process in using all of those skills for any of your clients.
Well, so we'll meet with clients, and they'll come to us with specific needs, and, we'll ask them how we can help, and then we'll kind of analyze what we have to offer versus what they need done. And then we'll bring in, Ken to handle this aspect, or Daniel who does video to handle this aspect, or myself or another photographer. And so it's basically just meeting with clients and figuring out what needs they have and then how we can fit those needs, I guess, more than anything.
Yeah. And Ken, for you, as you are like seeking out new clients for Johnny Davis Digital Solutions, what are some things that you kind of look for in a client? Where are they now? Why do they need excellence in photography, videography in order to effectively tell their brand story?
When I have communications or like those initial conversations with a prospective client, you start trying to introduce the company from sort of a neutral point, and then listen to that prospective client and just an open conversation, listen to them talk about where they are as a company and what needs they have as that comes up, just a natural conversation. And then you start kind of plugging the square pegs into the square holes and kind of figuring out through that conversation, do we have something to offer them? Usually, if I don't know the brand, I'll research the brand myself and I'll look at the examples of what their photography has, or if they have a brand video, for instance, or if they're very happy with their photography and that comes up in their conversation, then I start looking at the different ways we can serve them. If they've got fantastic photography, but they don't have a brand video, if they don't have a celebrity endorsed line of their furniture, if they do, if that designer, needs some, video, video is sort of the next evolution of commercial photography. So whether it's, features videos, a lot of these furniture companies are putting so much time and attention into the details and the functionality, with USB ports and hidden lights and, a lot of functionality in their stuff. And sometimes that doesn't come through as easily in photography as it does in video. So, you kind of pick up on cues as they have a conversation about the company. Then we pride ourselves in researching a company very well before we ever approach them. So when we walk into a conversation with them, we sort of already know where they're going to need help and what we can do to offer that help to them, have that extraordinary positioning.
Yeah. And I love that you pointed out the difference between those two types of mediums, photography versus videography. Everything can't be told in a story, especially of a furniture piece, in just a photograph. Sometimes it needs a more long form or even short form video content to better tell that story of what that furniture piece is, to get the sale or to get designers to know about it.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
We tell people that a good photograph says 1,000 words and we shoot in 24 frames a second. So we do video. It is taking those iconic photographs, those iconic pieces, with amazing lighting. Our cinematography team is one of the best in the business at creating really engaging light, where the lights on video will play across the different features and the textures and the detail and the design of a piece. So it's a moving photograph that, is stunning. It tells a story, by itself. And if we accomplish it, if we exceed and we meet our goals, when we see that video done, it tells its own story. Even if it is short form video, we want it to engage the viewer and an emotional connection. We want to establish an emotional connection with the viewer. If we want them to aspire to that piece, or if we want them to relate to that piece, we can do that through the lighting and the camera movements to kind of create that intimacy that we want to share with them.
I imagine that your clients are probably all very forward thinking and appreciate like the art behind cinematography in order to work with you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been very honored.
Yeah, we have been blessed with our client, and I mean they've been great with us, experiment with different things and trying to come up with maybe something that hasn't been done or they haven't seen, and so we've been very blessed with them letting us take that kind of leeway to do those things.
Yeah, yeah, it's building relationships. Relationships over even revenue. We subscribe to the idea that by building lasting relationships with brands and with designers, that the financial gain is sort of the byproduct of the relationship that's been created there, and when we have those lasting relationships, we say, we want to try something a little bit different with this, to have them kind of meet us halfway and say, hey, we're in, like, we love what y'all are doing, push it, just keep pushing. That allows us to kind of get more creative and, our storytelling and our approach to photography and videography, even in, photos, to create something that has not been seen before is much more fun from us, from a creative standpoint, than doing the same thing that has been done for 40 years.
Yeah, I love that. And so I know that you guys have this like business model where you call it concept to completion. So walk us through what that process is all about. And if you have any example of one of your amazing clients of a case study without naming any names.
Well, so yeah, concept to completion is basically, you have an idea, or maybe you don't know what the idea is, but you wanna get your name, brand, story out there, and we'll come to you, you come to us, and we kind of talk through things and figure out what it is that you want to get across is the first step. And then what steps we need to get to that point, whether it's we do photography and then we help you do layout for a catalog, and then we, work with printers to print that, or it's Ken meets with you and you need to do a video format and you do storyboard and Ken will, works through that with you and gives you options. So it's basically it's pulling your ideas out of you and then us helping you to relate that to, I guess, interpret that
Yep.
and to get it across to where it's a message because everybody has, and Ken is great about speaking this better than I am, but everybody has stories inside their heads, of what they want, what they want to express. But a lot of people don't know how to get that out in front of people, whether it's for a product, whether it's for an idea, whether it's for any number of things. It is hard to figure out, all right, well, I've got this. How do I get it over here where people will see it? And maybe I can make sales or I can get a message across. And so that's what we've been very good at. And it's fun to see that process because, talking with somebody, they say, well, I've got this, this chair or this sofa or this idea. And how can I get this in front of people? Well, there's 100 different ways to do it. What makes the most sense, as far as budgets that you have, constraints that you have, and let us help you get down the road on that, get it in front of the right audience.
Yeah. And I wonder, is there a specific framework that you have to walk a brand through, especially furniture, for them to get from just their idea, or even if they don't have an idea, to say, we know we want some creativity, right? They might just be at that phase. We know we need to be more creative. Help us. Is there a framework that you take them through to, I guess, better research what their brand story is? And how do you take that from something in their head or this piece of furniture in a showroom to the final product? I guess I just want to know a little bit more about the process and what that looks like. You know what I mean?
Well, so when we meet with somebody, we've got a new customer we met with, what Ken brought in this year, and basically they've expanded a lot since before they were working with us. And they have beautiful as accessory basically, but they weren't sure how to make it come across to where they do a lot of glass work.
Mm-hmm.
So, they want that to really jump off the page when you looked at it or their market introductions or whatever. So we talked with them and they were like, well, we've got this photography, we've done this in the past, but we're just not really happy with where we're at. It's like, all right, well, here's other things that, we could take you towards the stuff that we've seen in the past, stuff we've done in the past. And then, well, I like that, but I don't like that. And then you kind of narrow things down. And then, okay, well, let's do some sample shots, see where we're at on that, make sure we're going in a good direction. Then once we are, then we streamline it and run through 200 and some products or whatever it is in a timely manner because, it is time is money. So once we kind of get a formula down as far as what their look is, then we'll streamline it and make it more production oriented.
The framework that we approach every one of those projects with is you educate the client, and you let them know, this is what you have. This is a lot of the time we find that clients are so close to their own brand that it's easier for us to come research their brand, but also research their competitors from an unbiased standpoint, and say, well, these are some similar brands and this is what they're doing. And so now let's kind of take some cues and what do we like about this? What don't we like about this? And then approach their brand from the way we see their brand, not just from a consumer's point of view, but also from a creative point of view, so it's easy to kind of lay that framework and start that conversation, educating the client by knowing their brand. And I think that that's something that a lot of companies base themselves very transactionally, and they kind of, no fault of their own, but I think that they're so transaction based that they don't ever take the time to build the relationship and build a rapport with the client to say, this is how I see your brand. This is the story I see. Because Johnny's absolutely right. We approach every conversation we have as a unique story, and it's an opportunity to tell a unique story that showcases this brand and these people and these designers in a very exclusive light. And I think if you take the time to do that, then when you are shooting their product, it comes off as very authentic. You are really capturing the authenticity of that brand. And, we do it with exceptional lighting. We have some of the best retouchers in the business. So all those tiny little imperfections that just happen, through a shoot, the client never sees that. Their buyers never see that. Their clients never see that. So instead you walk away with a truly one of a kind experience.
Yeah.
Well, and I really feel like we want to collaborate with the companies. Honestly, it's not about ever meeting with somebody. All right, let's sell them this $10,000 project because now we made $10,000. It is more about collaborating with them. Let's get them further down the road and let's do something that we're proud of.
Yep.
And put our name on it. And then, everybody that they talk to, they're going to be like, yeah, these guys were there for us and they helped us get where we needed to be. And it wasn't about, writing a check. It was about a vision and getting you to that point. I like that a lot better than always.
Yeah.
We don't really sell anything. That's what's crazy. Our business model or structure, I don't know what it is, but anyway, we don't really sell anything. It's more about trying to help solve problems and collaborate with companies.
Yeah.
I love that. And Ken, back to what you just said too, just like the research that goes behind and having a different lens from somebody who's not within the brand and how important that is. I find a lot of times, especially for me, if I'm talking to prospective clients, they're usually in two different spots. They've been working at the company for a very long time, so their eyes are like very close to the brand, or they're just like new to starting maybe one specific revenue stream of their company. Like they're launching a new product and they've just been like head down for the last couple of years, like trying to get this product perfect. And then they looked up and they're like, okay, I have this product now what? So yeah, usually in those scenarios, I'm sure you can relate. So that research portion of just like, okay, one, researching them, getting to understand what is the story behind their brand, what are they trying to get across, and then two, researching their competitors so that you're able to like craft this story that really resonates with whoever they're trying to reach. So I love that. Thrive in Design is more than just a podcast. We are a design and innovation consultancy that focuses on helping interior product companies increase their brand awareness and revenue. We do this by truly understanding a designer's experience with your brand. We need to know what they experience from the time they learn about your brand, through the specification process, through that product being shipped out to the job site. Understanding pain points in that experience is crucial in increasing your brand awareness and revenue. So whether you need to revamp your branding, marketing, or sales strategy, or the complete customer journey, we are here to help your company thrive. Head to thriveindesign.co/contact and let's get the conversation going about how we can help your interior product company. So you guys have been in the game for a very long time. Johnny, you've been doing this business for 26 plus years. So what significant changes have you seen in the furniture and interior product industries over the last few decades? And how has your really craft changed along with that?
Well, it's crazy. So everything is moving a lot faster. Everybody wants stuff done. They want more stuff done in a shorter amount of time, and they want to pay the same amount of money for what they're doing, and it's a hard transition because you're trying to stay competitive. And then you have a lot of people that are coming into the industry on my side that doesn't really have the background. So then we end up fixing a lot of things that they have done, and then you have CGI that's involved, and, that's a constant, hey, we could get this done, on the computer versus ever having it photographed. What's the benefits or drawbacks to that? And there's a lot of things that have changed for sure. And it seems like for us, again, it is the relationships that we build with our customers that they'll call. And I mean, customers I've had since I've been in business. And, we had one customer this year that said, we're not going to do any photography at all. We're going to have everything computer generated, and I'm like, okay, well, if there's anything that we can do to help on the back end, let us know, and it's never about you're cutting that client loose because things change and they evolve. And what ended up happening with that clients actually called us and said, well, we changed gears again and we're going to have you shoot everything. So it's a constant target, and you can never get in your head about, am I doing the right things or this or that? And it's hard to do because you're always questioning, where you're at. But for us, it is just about maintaining the relationships and having good customer service and continuing with what we do on a daily basis, and that's what we've really built our company off of. But The competition is definitely, there's a lot more people doing what we're doing for a lot less money, and that's not always the best thing. There's, the CGI, the AI, all that stuff, which is, it does have its place, and we actually use
Yep.
some of that stuff for what we do, but it has to be like a good marriage between the two for it to work. What's your end product is a lot of times what I ask customers, where do you want to take this? And I can give you feedback as what, maybe it needs to be done. And we've been called in just to consult jobs because, they want to look at options, and I've gave unbiased reviews on, well, this is what I would do for this, or this is what I would do for this. Because at the end of the day, you want to look out for the people you're working for, whether they use you or not. You building that relationship, trust.
Yeah. And so let's take a quick pause because some of my listeners won't even know what you're talking about when you say CGI. So let's take a pause right
Awesome.
there and talk about CGI, AI. What are those? Give us a quick definition and why, give us like the pros and cons, I guess, of why they should use, real people for their services instead of like CGI and AI.
So CGI is computer generated imagery.
Or well, AI is
Artificial intelligence.
artificial intelligence. Yeah, we use the digital augmentation, augmented reality, things like
Right.
that. Yeah.
So the CGI, for the furniture industry, say if you have a piece that you've got a CAD drawing of and you don't actually have the piece manufactured, you can send it to a company and they will manufacture this piece, computer generated piece, and then you have that image to do whatever you want to with. There are limitations to that. And again, it's your end product. Do you want to put it on the web? That'll work fine for the web. If you want to print it in a catalog, you're going to scale it up to any size. What happens is the image starts to kind of pull apart. It degrades the image. It doesn't look as good. You know,
Mhm.
then there's a lot of detail in a lot of the companies that we work with are really high end companies, and then they'll put this grain or might be a dark piece with this white undertones to it. A lot of times the CGI companies can't reproduce that. They can get close, but then they'll send it to us to do the retouch on the back end, and you end up paying more than if you would just let us photograph it the first time. But what is nice about CGI is, let's say you're a smaller company and you've got, say, one piece of furniture that has 100 different colorways, meaning, you've got different fabrics you want to put on it, and you don't want to spend the money to manufacture 100 different colorways. You manufacture one piece and then you run it through program to put the different colorways on it. So then that saves you manufacturing time, but it gets the product out in front of people on the web. So that's a great thing for CGI. It saves the manufacturer a ton of money. It gets your product out in front of people, and you only have to pay for one piece. So in that case, that's awesome. But
Yep.
it depends on your end product, your end game. The AI, truthfully, we use more of that in Photoshop currently when we have to maybe put in a different background or different things like that. We don't use that as much as probably we can, because we'll actually photograph, say if we wanted a window in or something like that, we'll actually photograph a window, we'll place it in manually in Photoshop versus letting AI do it for us. Because what we run into with AI is it understands what needs to be done, but it doesn't always understand lighting. And there's so many little nuances that you can't replicate through artificial intelligence that we can do on our end.
The human eye picks up things that, whether you acknowledge it or not, you'll look at an image and you'll say, I like it, but there's something off about it. The human eye, the human brain can kind of pick apart. And I'm not talking about just people in the industry. I'm talking about the viewer. I'm talking about the person who's paging through that magazine, debating on this furniture piece or another. That room scene has to tell that whole story. And a computer can get pretty close. But at the end of the day, the computer doesn't quite see the way the human sees things. And so we are very discerning about what we allow a computer to do. When Johnny was talking earlier about digitally augmenting images, we do that. If we shoot a bunch of different architectural features, for different homes, different windows, different configurations of walls, it's easy for us to go in digitally and place those where it makes sense. We know how that light has to play across those, and we know how the light is going to be affected by this wall. So now the sofa or something sitting in front of that wall is also going to be affected by not just the light, but the wall color itself. A computer can't tell you, okay, well, this wall is now gray, but it was green. And so the fabric on the sofa needs to also shift in its light because it's going to pick up that light from behind it. It's going to pick up a little bit of that color. A computer just isn't good enough to pick that nuance out and then push it. So there is a mastery to retouching that humans still have to have a part of.
And it has come a long way, and it's amazing, where it is. But, with a lot of our clients, when we do shoot room scenes or we're in, our studio, we're creating stuff. I mean, a lot of people look at it as there's a sofa and a chair in that room, but our clients look at it, this is art. This is their best foot forward, so it can't just be good enough. Now if you're working with AI or CGI, well, and you're a retailer, all right, let's say if you're a retailer and you don't have access to the actual pieces or whatever, you can use CGI or AI to create maybe a room scene or a vignette or whatever. And, you have that access and it's good enough to get out in front of people.
Right.
But the manufacturer themselves, a lot of these companies are family-based companies.
Right.
So generations and generations. So what they put forward it's got to be, next level. So it's more personal, more intimate.
Yeah, it has to represent their brand. It has to represent their brand history. A lot of these new pieces of furniture have got historical nods. It may be a chair that's produced in 2024, but it may take inspiration in its design or its cover or its fabric or its detail from something that was produced in 1964.
Yeah.
And if this doesn't match their brand, it doesn't matter how close it got. Like a swing and a mess is still a mess.
Yeah.
That's a good saying. I've got to steal that one. But right, to like summarize what you guys just said, like 2 points that you really just said was like excellence versus good enough. It's like, does a brand want to be excellent for the best out there, or do they just want to be like, this is good enough? And then when it comes to like CGI and AI, those are really helpful tools depending on your end goal. But at the end of the day, we are in an industry that is people-centered. So you do need those people to tell the story, to capture the imagery, to capture the videography, because at the end of the day, those consumers, those people are also going to be looking at it in their eye, will catch all the detail. So I love that. I'm so glad we had that sidebar.
That's right. Well, our interior designers that spend so much time and energy sourcing these different brands for their projects, they're not building a video game. They're not building a digital simulation of a living room. They're building a living room for a family to come in and live in, to be part of that family story. And digitally enhanced images are fine to convey certain nuance in that story, but it doesn't replace the human experience. Humans are going to experience this furniture in their room, in their home, in their life. So it's up to us to interpret that art and to say, this is why this needs to be a piece in your home, in your family, your life.
Yeah, I love that. And so for brands that are listening, that they're like, okay, I get it. We don't necessarily want to lean on CGI and AI, all the things. We know we need to step it up. We want to be excellent. They don't want to just be good enough. What are some, maybe like 1 to 3 recommendations that you would give them to improve their brand visuals?
I think whether they go with us or another photographer, their photographer has got to understand their direction and their brand. They have to. They have to understand lighting. I think the difference between a good photographer and, when Johnny was saying that our market is so oversaturated with people with digital cameras, where a lot of photographers will fall short is, in my opinion, the relationship being built, the mastery of light, which is a huge, we see great photos, being taken, but a lot of the time when those photos come to us to help that photographer out, usually it's the lighting that's falling down. And then having a turnaround, having an after the sale service, it is saying, what else can we do? I've always been tickled when Johnny will, kill a project and the client's so happy. When I see that email from Johnny, he says, thank you so much for allowing us to, be a part of this shoot. having service after the sale, having a relationship with your photographer, with your retouchers, it's so important because it's not just understanding the brand, it's understanding the people involved in the brand. And I think that if you're looking for a good photography partner, if you're looking for someone that is going to capture your identity and capture your brand and bring that aesthetic, they've got to love the project. They've got to love the brand. They've got to love what they do. It can fall flat right after that invoice is sent until the next time someone calls. And, Johnny, people will pass Johnny during market and on the street and even eating lunch, and they are constantly reminded of his willingness to go above and beyond. We pride ourselves in saying that we're a say yes company. We will agree to do a project. And then even if we have to have a pre-production meeting to go over what we have to do to make sure we deliver on that project, we do that. We'll experiment. We'll try everything out in house to make sure that the client gets the absolute very best part of what we have to offer as a company. And I think that anybody who's looking to kind of elevate their brand visual, they need to have a partner in that, like a true partner, someone who's invested in that brand's identity exclusively, collaboration. We don't see even other photographers as competition. We see them as potential collaborators. Like we want to work with people in the industry because the industry that we're in is huge. The world that we work in is very small, and everybody knows everybody. And if we push each other, the images will keep getting better and better. I truly believe that we're on the verge of like a second creative revolution, like what we saw in the 1950s and 60s. And I think that the more photographers and the more creative agencies that are on board for that, the more stunning those visuals will end up just kind of becoming organically. Like we're pushing ourselves. People are watching what we do. They're pushing themselves. We're watching what they do. So we're pushing ourselves even a little bit harder. And the viewer, the buyer, the consumer, and the brands, they are benefiting from this, like, good enough isn't good enough, mentality.
Well, and I think too, going back to your question, I think the consumer or the person needing the service, I think a good thing to ask them is what's your end product? What's your end game? If you're wanting something over the top, okay, let's look at these things. But if you're here and this is what you can do for what you have, then let's look at those options. I think being realistic with expectations helps a lot because was that champagne takes on your budget?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. You run into that a lot. And I'm happy to do whatever. And I mean, we've eaten it on a lot of projects just because we wanted to get them to another level, hoping that we would build a relationship. And once they started, generating income, they would do more business with us. And it's worked on more than not,
Oh, yeah.
And it's fun to see brands get to that level. But, I think for a brand, it is, okay, what do you want out of it here? What do you want out of it 5 years? What for a year, 6 months or whatever? Yeah. So for us, it is the research, not only where the brand is, but where they want to go. And for a brand, I would say, talk to different photographers and get feedback from them. I had a lady call me, it's been a couple weeks ago, and she was asking me, she wanted to do XYZ and what I would charge for this and that. And so then I started asking her questions. I said, well, okay, you want us to come out, you want us to shoot for the day, right? She's like, yeah. And what would that cost? I was like, well, it costs this amount. What would I get for that? Well, what are we shooting? There's so many questions, are we shooting one piece of furniture? Are we shooting 100 pieces of furniture? Are we shooting in a room scene versus this versus that, And as our conversation progressed, I told her, I was like, look, this really isn't about what we're going to charge. I want you to be more educated on for us, call, and I'll give you people's names and numbers to call because they're good people in the industry, and ask them these questions. That way she gets more education as far as what she needs to ask, and we can help her get, better product in the end. Because again, it is about rolling in the community, and somebody new in the community, you want them to feel like, all right, I have a voice and people are listening to me and stuff.
Yeah. So basically, to understand the process, the direction, the lighting, and that your creative team also has a yearning to really know the people that they're going to be working with so they can effectively tell your story. Got it. I love that.
Absolutely.
So we've learned so much about the journey behind Johnny Davis Digital Solutions. You've broken down what CGI means and AI and why it's so important to really still have that human touch on the creative services. So tell us what's next for Johnny Davis Solutions, and are there any new projects or innovations in the pipeline?
Well, yeah, we've got a lot of different things going on. So our video department is a fairly young department. We're 3 years into
3 years.
this.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's amazing how it's evolved. Ken basically took it from the beginning, and then we've got a couple other people involved, and it's progressed really well. And now we're doing full productions, and that's exciting. We've also got a larger studio space right around the corner from where we're at. So we're building custom bays for different companies and shooting in there. Well, we're trying to get back in there. We've had some holdbacks on building and stuff like that, but we should be back in there shortly. And we've got a huge cyc wall over there. It's 35 by 35. So it's like
it's an infinity wall. It's like a seamless corner that's permanently installed that's 35 feet by 35 feet. So, I think like a sound stage, almost like a green, stage. It's great for video, great for photography. It's got so many different applications, and it is stunning to see things shot on that wall. It is amazing what you can do in that studio. It really is.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to getting back over there and doing more of that work. And then, Ken's got us in front of several different designers. And one of the projects we just finished was in Oregon. We're excited about getting that posted out there. And we're now members of, what was that?
Yeah, we're a member of the Vacation Rental Designers Collaborative, a kind of a amazing group of people that are really kind of at the forefront of interior design across the nation. And we're very proud to offer bicoastal services. We're headquartered here in High Point, but we shoot the Las Vegas market for some of the clients, and we shoot on the West Coast as the projects allow us to get out there. And so it's
nationwide.
We're nationwide, and it's a good feeling to kind of go from where historically photographers and commercial photographers were so far behind the scenes that it is kind of a fun challenge. It's been a fun challenge, but it's been very rewarding to get the name of Johnny Davis's company. And I work with him on a daily basis, and I mean Johnny is my best friend. So I get to see him on a much more intimate level and kind of see that story. As we talk about telling other people's stories, Johnny has got one of the cooler stories that I've ever been a part of, and I think that's why I find it motivating to work for him. And he's very shy about kind of accepting some of that the limelight. So I'm excited to kind of continue to build his presence on the front end of the community, not just behind the scenes stuff, because he really does have a lot to offer. I think our entire industry and the creative industry as a whole. The storytelling, I think, is just going to keep getting better and better.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm excited that I had you guys both on the podcast and getting a little bit of your story out to even more of the industry. So if my listeners want to get in contact with you guys, where can they find you online?
So our website is jdavisdigital.com. Our Instagram handle is @jdavisdigital. One of our videographers, she's our first assistant camera. Her name is Claire Hamilton, and she does an amazing amount of work, and she does all of our social media. So definitely check out the social media. It is so cool to see what she does while she's doing a project. She's creating these social media moments kind of off to the side. We don't even see her taking those images half the time, or there's little video moments, and she'll string them together, throw them up. It's amazing. So definitely check that out.
It is amazing.
Yeah. And then we have a Facebook page, and we do have a Vimeo, Johnny Davis Digital Productions on Vimeo, but that shows a lot of the most recent videos that we've done. And whether they're the small features videos or full productions, we have partnered with Rockham County and the Department of Tourism up there, and we do quite a bit of their tourism video, which is super fun. To partner with Madison and Mayodan, North Carolina, and kind of be part of that story. That's a historical community up there, and just some of the best people in the entire world. And they let us in, and we consider them family at this point. We get to tell their story on like a seasonal basis, and it is so much fun.
Well, thank you both for being a guest, or being two guests on today's episode. I have really enjoyed talking with you guys, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this week on Thrive in Design. Be sure to follow us on Instagram @Thrive in Design And for more strategies on how your product company can innovate in the interior design industry, head to training.thriveindesign.co. As always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode and leave us a review so we can continue to create captivating content. See you next week.